Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be showing you guys a tutorial on how to use Silhouette Studio to create the Cocomelon design for a piñata. You will also see how to put a piñata together if you've never done it before. This is my first time creating a piñata, and it was very time consuming. So I'm going to tell you guys the do's and the don'ts of doing this. So bear with me here. I have definitely learned a faster route to do it if I ever wanted to create one again. But I love the outcome of it. I just wish I knew a couple of the things before I actually spent the time on part of the design. So now I'm going to show you guys how to insert the image into Studio. You can always just go to File Open or use the Open folder on the front tab, or just drag it from your desktop and place it right into the Studio this way. So now I'm just going to resize this image a little bit smaller. And then we're going to be using the trace feature to remove the white background and also the word Cocomelon. So now I'm just going to increase the size of this so it's easier to see when we go to select by color in the trace panel. And then you want to select the face and increase the tolerance so that all of the face is selected, and make sure you don't do all areas because it will select the ladybug as if it's the same color. So when we go to trace and detach, it will take the eyes, the nose, and the mouth with it, which is great, as well as the white outside. We will be detaching everything in the face, but first let's go ahead and resize this according to the paper size that we will be using. So I will be using construction paper as well as cardstock for this image. The pink part of the face will go on construction paper, and the paper size that I have is a letter size. So if you have a 12 by 12 image, then you do not have to worry about doing this. To this extent, you want to size it according to your size paper, and make sure that you give the silhouette some room to be able to work around, and you don't want it to be as big as the face. So after you have resized your image according to your paper size, you now want to create an offset. The offset is for the white border. Yes, there is a white border around the face, but we're going to make our white border bigger, and we also want it to be a solid image. So what we're gonna do is create this offset, and then we're also gonna create it to be a little bit bigger. So yes, you will be gluing two pieces together onto the piñata, but the face will cover majority of the pieces that are taped together. So here I'm going to take my knife tool and slice it, so that I will be able to cut both pieces out separately without any overhang or the silhouette cutting part of the mat that will not be covered in paper. And now I'm going to change the inside of the offset to be white, just so I'm able to see it in the studio. After that is completed, now we can move forward with detaching the part of the face. So we're gonna do the pink part of the face, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, the cheeks, and then also get rid of the white, which is the inside of the eyes, the right side of the face, and also the border around. So now we want to go back to our trace panel, which is on the right side, and we're going to do all of this trace by color. So here you want to select the face and then increase the tolerance, and then select trace and detach. We will not be moving anything away from the face until each piece is detached. Sometimes the panel will close out depending on how large of an image is being traced and detached. Some areas the panel will not close, so I do think that depending on the size of it, it does reload pretty much. So you would complete this step for each color and make sure that you are increasing the tolerance to make sure each color is fully covered before you trace and detach it. So now it is taking a second just to do the black. We're gonna go ahead and do the cheeks, and we're gonna do them separately. With the black, it was easy to select all areas because black is very dark, so it's easy to notice that. But with the pink, as you saw, if you select all areas, it will include the face because the colors are so similar. So it's easier just to trace by color, then trace and detach separately. And we're gonna do the same exact thing for the white. So after tracing and detaching all of this, we're then going to select each piece depending on the color and then make it a compound path. So after making these a compound path, I can now move these off. Granted, you do not have to join these and make them a compound path. It is just a choice of mine because I like for things to just kind of be together. They will be cut out on separate sheets of paper, of course, but you do not necessarily have to keep them together if that's not what you want to do. So here I'm just going to delete everything that is white because we will not be using it since we created that offset, which where the face and the eyes and everything will be sitting on the piñata. So here I'm just trying to test to see and make sure that the size of the face still fits perfectly fine within the letter paper. So now I'm just going to resize the watermelon for the ladybug. I'm not cutting out the ladybug in construction paper or cardstock because it was really difficult to use the trace by color method with the ladybug. It was selecting certain parts of the ladybug that weren't red or black, like vice versa. So I decided to just print him out on photo glossy paper instead of using cardstock. You can definitely find the SVG for the ladybug if you prefer to do it that way. There's a website called newmoody.com. They sell the same ladybug SVG file in order for you to be able to kind of break him apart and then piece them back together with construction paper if that is your preference versus printing him out. I thought the easiest thing for me to do was to print him out. So here I'm just going to select the area that I want to remove from this watermelon. And then I'm going to use my erase tool to kind of try to get rid of that green. It really doesn't matter how much of the green you do have left because remember, if I'm cutting this out, I'll be using scissors to cut around the image, or you can possibly use the silhouette to cut around it, but I just hand cut it myself and then I was able to get in between his legs to get rid of that extra green. There is a crop tool as well, to where you do not have to use a tracing tool to remove the ladybug from the watermelon, but sometimes I just forget. I've only had my Silhouette Studio or my Silhouette Cameo for 2 weeks now. I originally had Cricut, and they do not have the crop feature, so sometimes I just forget that there are other tools on here that I'm not used to. So after I traced that one, I made it a compound path as well, just to make sure the ladybug stayed together before I moved it. So here I will be going through with tracing the color of the antennas, and I am going to do each antenna separately instead of selecting all areas, because again, it was picking up colors in certain areas that weren't blue or pink, so I decided to go ahead and do it separately. So now that we have all the extra pieces deleted that we did not need, like the shadow and the watermelon, I am going to resize the antennas. Because the piñata is so big, this size of the antennas was very small. I did end up cutting it out, not realizing that it was too small. So now I'm just going to reattach everything and then put it above the face, resize it to where it will be centered once I do recut it out, and place it on the piñata that way. So now that I have everything cut out, I'm just going to reinsert the Cocomelon into the studio. Granted, this step could have been done first, which originally I did do, but now that I'm re-recording this for you guys to show you exactly what I did, I completely forgot to do the offset of the actual watermelon. I'm creating an offset or an outline of this image so that I'm able to cut it out on separate sheets and use it as an outline for the cardboard box, so I'm able to cut around it, which you will see. if you're able to create this offset and then save it to your desktop, you will be able to insert it into Microsoft Publisher, and then it will print on several sheets, which I will show you. Now, this feature, Offset is in Basic Studio, but in order to save it to your desktop as a PNG, I believe it's only in the Business Edition. I kind of upgraded fairly quickly because of the SVG feature that I needed to do Silhouette Studio. I'm so used to being able to work with SVGs in Cricut Design Space that I was really unaware that you had to have a certain edition of the Silhouette Studio in order to use SVG. So I will show you guys a website where you can get it for cheap, and in no way affiliated with this website. I just discovered it through a Google search, and I was able to get it for $40 cheaper than what Silhouette America is selling it for. So I will show you guys a website in just a minute, if you do want to upgrade, if you are not ready upgraded, to show you what you can do as a second option. I will also show you, if you do not want to buy anything at the moment, I will show you another way that you can do an outline to cut out. I ended up changing the outline and filled the inside, which I forgot to show you guys, but you can change the inside of the outline as well. So here is swingdesign.com. I really like this website. I just newly discovered it. So when you go to the website, make sure you type Studio in the search bar at the top, and you will see all of the features for Studio that they have. You will see all of the upgrades discounted, as well as tutorials on this website. If you are new to the program and you need help learning, they do have some really good tutorials on here. I haven't purchased any of them. Like you see that there's a class right there. I prefer to just learn on my own. I think I'm fairly good at doing so, just because, you know, I use Photoshop and other things, Inkscape, that have the same similar features. It's just learning where the tools are and exactly what they do that may be a struggle. But you see here how the price, the original price is $99.99, but they have it discounted at $59.99. So if you want to jump from your basic all the way to your business edition, then you can do it this way. And they do have other options if you want to go to just designer or just designer plus. Those are options as well. I ended up going to designer plus first, which was $42.99, and then I realized I did actually need business edition, which was only an extra $18, but it still came out to be the same exact amount, which is $60. And with those two purchases, I ended up getting a $100 gift card to a website called sofonti.com, and in that website you will be able to purchase fonts, SVGs, PNGs, mockups on the website, which I will show you guys. So with both of those purchases, I ended up earning $100 per purchase, so I have $200 in gift cards to use for these fonts on this website, which is really great. I have yet to fully use them yet. I've added some things to my cart, but I haven't fully gone through all of the pages that are available of things. But on here you can definitely see all of these options to download or buy. But again, you do not have to purchase anything. I just want to give you guys an option for those who do want to upgrade but did not want to pay full price. So here is a website I was just talking about, Sofonti. They have a particular section for card redemption, where you can see all these fonts. There's just a bunch of different things. I haven't fully gone through the website. So now back to the Piñata. Here, if you go to Google search and you search Cocomelon logo PNG, you will get the option to get one without a background, and we can use this for publisher if you cannot do the outline. So this is for people that do not have the option to save their work or their outline to their desktop as a PNG. You do have this option to search for a PNG and then use this instead of an outline. It will have the same exact effect, and I will show you what size to make it. So here you can see I already have the outline inside of my publisher. I did fill the inside in Silhouette Studio. I use that circle as reference for size because inserting the outline into here, created a box around it. So I just want to make sure that it was the right size that I needed. To get rid of your margins, you want to click on margin and then go to none, because I know as soon as you open an empty file, that's what you will see. And then you want to click on the option create new page size and then change it to 30 by 30. And this is only if you want your piñata to be the same size as mine. If you want it to be smaller, then of course you will adjust your page size to be in that particular size. So now I'm going to show you guys the size that this actually is in the format option. It does say 30 by 30. I don't truly believe that that's how big it is. Again, because there is a box around it, or like a little border, as you can see. So I think that's actually 30 by 30, but the inside image is not. So I'm going to show you guys how to size the PNG of the actual Cocomelon for those that cannot do the outline. So here I'm just going to resize it, and then I'm going to crop it from the word Cocomelon, because we won't be using that, of course. We're going to crop it, and then we're going to resize it to where it is the same size as the outline. I prefer the outline, honestly, just because I'm not using a lot of ink to print out pictures of an image that I will not be using. But this is just a good option for people that cannot use the outline feature or the save feature in Silhouette Studio. So now here I'm just going to resize this, and it ended up being 23 inches. So you can just change it to 23, and that ended up being the same size as the outline. And I will show you guys the size difference in just a second. So when you go to print, it will be on multiple pages, and then once it's printed, we will cut around the actual image. So now I'm just laying out everything to make sure that it is placed in the right spot. And then I'm going to go through and start cutting all of the excess white that we will not be using. And then tape everything together, and then draw an outline of this image on the box. And that this particular box, I believe, was a moving box that was from U-Haul. I mean, you can use any box that you have at home, or if you want to go buy a box, that will work too, just as long as it's big enough to cover the size of your piñata and you're not having to tape any amount of pieces together to create this. So I'm just going through taping all the edges. You do not need to tape the inside. It's really no reason, just because we will be just outlining this image with our marker onto the box, so the middle piece is not really necessary. I didn't end up using the antennas or the ladybug on the actual cardboard box. I cut them out here, but then later on I figured out that I did not want them on there because I didn't want to figure out how to cover the back side, the size of the cardboard. It's really up to you if that's something that you want to keep, just to make sure that those images are sturdy. But I did not want to keep anything extra that was not needed. So now I'm just going through using my X-Acto knife to cut through this thick cardboard. I mean, the struggle was definitely real. It was very tiring, and eventually for the back piece I ended up using a kitchen knife because I was just over it, honestly. And something longer, like let's say a box cutter would definitely be better than using this X-Acto knife, but I don't have any of those things, so I use what I had. So if you have a box cutter or something a little bit longer to cut, then that would be a good option. And then creating the outline with the X-Acto knife is good if your box has a front and the back, because I was able to use this outline once it was out to cut the back piece so that they both were the same exact. Here I'm just showing you guys how I end up using a kitchen knife, which definitely sped up the process. And I just outlined it the same exact way that I did the front, and I didn't have to use the paper again to outline. So if you don't have a box like this to where there is a front and a back, you definitely would just have to use your outline twice to cut around. So here I'm using a shipping box that I have. It was a 12 by 9 by 6 box, and I measured it 5 inches to create the width in between the top and the bottom pieces. So that's how thick I ended up making the piñata. Again, if you do not want it to be 5 inches, you want it to be 4 or 3, that's really up to you, because the thicker you make it, the more candy, of course, you have to put in it, which is not that big of a deal. I was able to find some bags of candy in the piñata section at Walmart to do this. But the thinner box is definitely great because you can use it to curve around the image. It's definitely easier and bendable. And here I'm using masking tape and going around the whole image and then flipping it over and adding the cardboard to make sure that it sticks to it. As you can see here, I was able to add an extra piece on here, and I just taped the outside to the image, and then I made the shape go all the way around. It's definitely a personal preference, so if you want to shape it around the antennas, if you're keeping it, or the ladybug, if you're keeping it, then that's really up to you. I definitely was not about to do all of that. And here I'm just going to be taping the top part on so that we can get it ready to add the tissue paper. So again, I did end up cutting the antennas and the ladybug shape off of the back, and then I was like, let me just remove it from the front, because if I'm doing it in cardstock, I can just tape it on there. And then I do think that the antennas and the ladybug were a little bit wider than the image that I was printing out anyway. Granted, you could definitely make it that size, but I didn't. So here I already have my tissue paper on here, but I'm going to show you guys an example of how I have it layered. You want to just take your tissue paper out and then cut it where you see the first kind of indentation of it being folded. And then you're going to cut slits in it to create this fringe look. And then you're going to use, I have a glue stick. It's a washable Elmer's glue stick that I was using on here, and then you're going to layer 3 sheets a piece separately. So you're going to lay one piece down, glue it, put some more glue on it, and then add the second layer, and then do it for the third. And then the very top layer, of course, I'm using double-sided sticky tape because I didn't want any of the purple glue stick to show through the very top. If I could go back and do this again, I would completely cover the entire piñata in tissue paper first, and then go back through and do the fringe, so that I'm not having to do 3 layers, so that you're not seeing the cardboard box. But this is definitely a lesson learned. I don't really picture myself doing this again unless maybe a friend wants me to make one for them. But this was definitely something I wanted to do since I am a DIY person, crafty person. I love making things, so I definitely wanted to do this for my daughter's birthday party, which isn't until April, so I just wanted to go ahead and get this out of the way. Soon I hope to be able to make more things that are Cocomelon related, and hopefully if those things turn out well, I'll be doing another video, maybe some characters. Speaking of characters, I do have a word party video where I use Publisher to create these images. They're pretty big, they're 3D images that you can put on foam board and have them at parties as well. I will make sure that that video is at the end of this video, so that you guys can check it out. If it's something that you want to do, you can use a video for any character that you want to do. So I'm thinking about doing Cocomelon characters as well. I'm just not sure if I wanted to do the same method. I may do something completely different, but I'll be looking into doing something like that possibly next week. So here I'm just cutting around all of the extra tissue paper to make sure that the tissue paper isn't hanging off and it is forming around the image. So if you see any of the cardboard kind of peeking through, you can see like the brown through the tissue paper, you just want to go ahead and add any more layers to the top. And here I'm just adding my double-sided sticky tape to make sure that it does stick to the very top of this. So now I'm going to go through and completely cover the middle piece with tissue paper, and then I'm going to cut off the extra piece. Again, I really wish this was something that I did for the front and the back, just completely cover it so that it's easier when it comes to adding the fringe. But it's definitely a lesson learned for next time. So I'm using my glue stick here to fully coat it to make sure that the tissue paper sticks to the middle piece. And then I ended up doing 3 layers of this as well, so that you're not able to see any of that masking tape or any parts of the box peeking through the color, because you know tissue paper is pretty much transparent. I'm not gonna lie, after adding 3 pieces of tissue paper around the middle piece, I was honestly debating on it if I wanted to do fringe. So that is an option as well, if you just wanted it to be the front and the back and then the center just kind of be solid. I think it looks perfectly fine like that. So I was sitting there debating the entire time if I wanted it to have fringe, but eventually I just gave in and said I wanted it to be like a universal look. So I went ahead and added fringe, but with me adding the tissue paper around it first, I didn't have to worry about doing 3 layers of the fringe as I was doing the front and the back. So I went and added all of the layers of the fringe, which you'll see in just a second. And then I added middle pieces to make sure that it was kind of layered, which you will also see. So now that everything is fully covered in the tissue paper, I'm now going to start adding the stripes. The paper that I'm using here is streamer paper that I'm folding in half. And I really like how this paper worked because you were able to curve it, kind of manipulate it in the way that I wanted it to go. It is very stretchy. So that's pretty good too if you want to just go ahead and wrap it around to the back so you're not having to fully do the back, which I ended up doing anyways, but it is pretty good when it comes to just being very stretchable and flexible to creating a curve, because if you've seen the logo, the curves in the Cocomelon are very apparent and they're not really straight. So I was definitely trying to create the same look with it being curved. So here I'm adding that outline offset that we created in Silhouette Studio, just to have that white background first before I place the face on here, using my handy glue stick that I've used for this whole project. And then after this is placed, I will place the face on and then use double-sided sticky tape to place that face within the eyes and the cheeks as well. So here I am cutting a hole in the top, which I will show you guys. Sorry I wasn't able to get the camera to show the very top while I was doing it, but I will show you the hole that I did make for the candy to go in. And you'll make sure that you kind of cut it as like a square almost, to make sure that the hole is wide enough for the candy to be put in. So now I will be adding a jute cord to the top by using a heat gun. And you do want to make sure when you're doing this that it is attaching to the actual cardboard and not the tissue paper, because that can easily be ripped up, which I was soon finding out that I should have just switched it, which I did. But you do want to make sure that you are attaching it to a hard surface like the cardboard box, because again the tissue paper would just rip up and the cord would definitely come up with it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If this video helped you in any way, please make sure that you like, comment below with any questions, and please do not forget to subscribe. I am definitely trying my hardest to reach that 1,000 mark of subscribers, so I would greatly appreciate it if you did subscribe. Thank you so much, you guys, again, for watching and tuning in. I post a lot of DIY videos, and soon I will be uploading a video on Silhouette Studio. So thank you guys so much.